Hello! Here I am outside finally, and it's not windy, so I can actually get some good microphone sound. And I'm at one of my favorite places. One of the things that I love about incorporating nature into my higher power makeup is it's accessible everywhere. Um, Everywhere has parks and a patch of grass somewhere or tree. Um, But what I want to talk about first, I am about to launch a new feature. Um, I will be doing a live streaming session this Saturday from 2 to 2:30. I will be using Periscope, which is a part of Twitter. So I will be at the Agnostic Addict, my Twitter feed. Look for my feed. It's the same handle on Periscope. So what you need to do is download the Periscope app. It's free. And sign up on Periscope using your Twitter account. And once you're in, just look for my Facebook feed, my Twitter account. And you will be able to see me shooting live. I will be taking your questions. It will be a Q&A session. So we'll see how this goes. It's a new thing, and live streaming is certainly becoming popular. So we'll give this a try. If it goes well, I'll be doing this once a month. And if it continues to go well, I will be doing it bi-weekly, live streaming and taking your questions and talking about addiction or anything else that you may want to ask. It's up to you. I am led by the viewers. You can see me. I cannot see you. The only thing that I will see in the stream is your username and your questions as they pop up. Check it out. If you want to remain anonymous, if you have a Twitter account currently, but you don't want to use that one, make up an anonymous one and use that same ID then for Periscope and log on and chat with me. Again, you will be able to see and hear me. I will not be able to hear you. You will be just texting your questions to me and directing the conversation. So we'll see how that goes. I will be posting an announcement on my Twitter feed and my Facebook page announcing this as well. So now on to topic. What I wanted to talk about today is CoAddictions. So, bugs. Real quick, one thing that I love about nature, and I think why I'm drawn to it so much, is I grew up in Michigan, and I lived outdoors as a child. And if you've read any of my blog, you know I needed to escape for a number of reasons. And for me, climbing up in trees and disappearing into the woods and literally getting lost was what got me through. I just loved it. I would build tree forts and literally spend hours and hours just out in the woods. Okay, so back on CoAddictions. Like I said, remember, this is unscripted and I just kind of free flow. My step study this past Saturday, we were talking about CoAddictions briefly as we were examining step 5 and 6. And these are some of the things that come out as we work on our 4th step and the character flaws that we take a look at and release after we've written them all down. And what I've seen from many fellow addicts who are in my meetings with me, including myself, is that often when we come off of our core addiction, we find that there are one or two other addictions as well. Or because of our addictive nature in general and because of the disease that it is in our mind, we just need that fix. And so what I found in my case was that after I cleaned up, I I spent like crazy. I was a shopaholic. For some reason or another, I needed to continue a fix, and I did a ton of online shopping. It's still a really difficult thing for me, and I have to watch it and monitor it. And in our whole household, we use internet tracking software that sets off alarms if I even try and uninstall it. But it's there to help give some sort of accountability to what I do online, especially with my shopping habits. And all of my credit cards are locked up in a safe in the house, and I do not have access to them. And that may not work for everybody who doesn't have a husband, wife, spouse, significant other. And what I would say in those cases is maybe considering just closing the accounts, period. There's a lot of bugs out today because we had some rain here in the Dallas area, and so they're sort of all over. Anyway, so if I couldn't shop, another thing I did was I would eat. And I'm not talking about just, junk food, binging every now and then. No, this was like, I would run to a 7-Eleven or a CVS around the corner and get myself a box of those Snickers ice cream bars, and I would eat every single one. I would go to the store and get a box, like the biggest box of Lucky Charms that I could get, and eat the entire box in a sitting. It's just something that there's this hole that you're working on filling up. When I went into recovery, and some days when I felt the presence of that hole more than others, I would fall into one of these CoAddictions. I don't go to Overeaters Anonymous or shopaholics. I stay focused on my core addiction because for me, the 12 steps are the same regardless. I've mentioned that from the start, and all the worksheets that I've put out on my resources page on my website, I have rewritten to make them as generic as possible so they work for anybody. And that was the original intent of, in my opinion, of the 12 steps, is that yes, they were written by an alcoholic for alcoholics, but their core meaning and their core purpose can be applied to every addiction disease of the mind. And I think for me, more than my core addiction, I struggle with these core addictions much more on a daily basis because they're so much easier for me to access. But we have a shared account, and these things that I have in place help me to stay accountable. For the eating, after I got into recovery, I discovered that my health was terrible. And I ended up going to a doctor and having some blood work done and found out all these horrible things, and I had 2 of 3 markers for diabetes, and I decided to make some major changes and became vegetarian, mostly vegan. Every now and then I have an egg, but mainly, vegan. And after I made these changes, I lost 50 pounds within 3 months, and the markers went away. My cholesterol levels went from over 500 to being normal. So I really pulled myself back from most likely having a heart attack within a few years. And it's just as easy, though, being a vegan, to overeat. We have a lot of vegan options here in the city. There's vegan donut shops, vegan bakeries with cupcakes and cake, and you name it. There's sweets for the vegans too, and it's just as easy to go to those resources as well and use them. But again, because I have to purchase them, I can maintain that accountability because of our shared account. So don't be surprised that there may be some revelations as you work on your own recovery, and you might find that you might turn to something to continue to fill that hole. For me, I didn't beat myself up about it. I recognized it when it happened because I was already in recovery and doing the 12 steps, so I knew what was happening and was aware of it when it was going on. It still, there were times where I couldn't stop, and I would eat that box of Snicker bars or the Lucky Charms, and it happened. But I don't beat myself up. I think that's the most important thing, because it's progress, not perfection, as they say in group. And as long as I'm keeping my eye on what's ahead of me and staying in recovery, then and staying away from my core addiction, which was the worst, then I don't berate myself for the little slip-ups of the CoAddictions along the way. I just continue to do the best I can to manage my life and watch for those things when they happen. And typically when they happen, usually there's something emotional going on. And it was a good idea to explore those emotions and discover what those were, so that I could recognize when they might happen, and again, take steps to make better choices. And that's what it's all about, is making better choices. So I hope that speaks to you, and you find some little nugget of information out of that. But again, look for me on Periscope this Saturday from 2 to 2:30 Central Time. I hope that I get some people out there who log in and ask me some questions. Otherwise, I will just talk for 30 minutes and we'll see how that goes. This is the Agnostic Addict. Hope you have a great week. Take care.